his uncle owned a gas station. We used to take a lot of beer out of there, and then we'd go to the Laker games in the Forum and drink beer. We'd sneak beers in, and
he's making it sound better than it was. My uncle had shut down his gas station.
All right.
So these beers were like easily a year old, like hot Lowenbrows that had been sitting.
Old hot Lowenbrow. Clickety clack.
Some pops.
Okay.
All right. What do we got here?
So this is the beer of the day. It's called The Moon and the Stars.
The Moon and the Stars.
Yes. It's the Pedals and Pints collab. Did you try it yet?
No.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, let's taste this.
It's super orange hue.
I hate
Compared
it.
to our
Whoops.
weekly candy.
Sorry, Ollie.
No, it's tasty.
It is good. It's really good. So
It's apricot.
tell me,
There's
okay,
apricot in this.
when you collab, like, how's that actually go down?
It's gone down a whole bunch of different ways before. It's all over the map.
Like, are you guys actually both brewing it at each other's brewery separately or different, or is it like you guys just kind of come up with it together? Like, tell me how it works.
Usually somebody will suggest the collab, and oftentimes it'll be both breweries will brew a beer. So they'll do like a home and away, they call it.
Okay.
We'll brew this up at our place, and then 5 months later or 2 months, whatever, however the time frame is, we'll brew another one at your place. That's kind of what we did here. We brewed this one over here. Monica came over and brewed this with us. It's an apricot hazy. And we went over there and brewed a double West Coast IPA with them as well.
Okay. So this is the one that you guys brewed here.
This is the one we brewed here, and this is for the event today that we're doing, which is Down the Rabbit Hole, which is basically a collaboration beer and a collaborative festival effort. We have 5 bands here, 5 bands there, and we got a shuttle that's running back and forth. And we're basically we were the first brewery in Thousand Oaks, and then they were the next brewery in Thousand Oaks. So this was just something we thought we would do to,
why is
get the community
breweries
involved.
Seem to be very collaborative versus like other places where everything's so competitive. Yeah. What is that?
I think it helps the industry is kind of known for that, for helping each other. There's some outliers for sure. But for the most part, anytime a brewery asks us to help them with whatever, they need some grain, they need CO2, they need whatever it is that they need, everybody's very responsive. Like instantly you get what you need. So there's that kind of camaraderie in the industry that's just kind of well known. At the same time, collaborations help marketing for both breweries. You get
It's that cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Like bands playing together.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. If you, especially if you're trying to open up certain markets, it'd be smart thing to do a collaboration with the 49ers in the Bay Area, or with whether it's a brewery or any other business or other person or whatever it is. So I think that has something to do with it as well. But mostly it's keeping new, fresh stuff out. Breweries are more and more trying to keep their lineups rotating and having new things for people to try. So that's one way to do it.
So tell me, when did you guys first meet each other? How old were you guys?
Probably 16, I would say.
I think it was maybe a little bit after that. I was smoking cigarettes, I'm pretty sure, and I didn't start.
I started smoking cigarettes when I was 13, so could have been. That doesn't gauge anything for me.
How does that even happen?
My mom was a respiratory therapist. That's how that happened. I was a pack a day in junior high school.
How do cigarettes happen? Or
Well,
how does it happen at 13?
Yeah,
13?
At 13, I was in my room playing my guitar. I was on a skateboard.
I used to go to Aunt Lefty's Pizza, and they had a cigarette machine like right when you walked in, so they couldn't see you. And I would just go in and just buy a pack of smokes out of that machine, and Marlboro Reds, pack a day every day on the way to Los Cerritos. But anyways, yeah. So we met like a few years after that. Let's say 3 years after that, I would say.
You got him
I
smoking?
think 16 because I probably.
You got me doing a lot of stuff.
We definitely.
You got me opening a brewery. Got me
Yeah, we definitely drank a lot of beer when we were kids. So our relationship was built on beer since we met.
We've been priming this for a long time. Yeah.
We used to. His uncle owned a gas station, and he stored a bunch of like stuff that he put in the refrigerators in his garage. So there was like a ton of beer in his garage, and we used to just go in. And his uncle lived on the street I lived on growing up.
Does his uncle have a free account here now from
yeah, we should
investment that he put into you guys?
He was well aware of all the stuff that we thought it was secret, but he knew.
Yeah.
He was well aware.
We used to take a lot of beer out of there, and then we'd go to the Laker games at the Forum and drink beer. We'd sneak beers in, and you could smoke cigarettes in the Forum at the time. We'd be up there drinking beer, warm Lowenbrows out of a bottle and smoking cigarettes and watching Laker games.
He's making it sound better than it was. My uncle had shut down his gas station.
All right.
So these beers were like easily a year old, like hot Lowenbrows that had been sitting
old hot
in the
Lowenbrow.
garage.
They still work though, right?
They worked,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even think to like put them in ice on the way down to the game or anything. It was just straight out of the hot garage into the hot trunk in our pants.
I don't think at that point you guys were really looking to enjoy the beer.
No, it was a different situation.
So how did the brewery come about then? I mean, obviously you guys primed this for a while. You didn't know where you were going. And then
No. We actually lived together briefly in college. Then we parted ways. I think John moved to Texas.
He also makes that sound nice too. I squatted in his apartment at Santa Barbara. That's what happened.
Was this when you guys were getting your MBAs?
Not me. This guy was. Him and Brad had an apartment, and they were going to college.
Okay.
And I was just sleeping on the couch.
It was fun though. It was a good
great time.
It did interfere with schooling a little bit at times, but it was rad. It was just a continuation of high school. I mean, honestly, when I transferred from Agora High School to Thousand Oaks High School my senior year, in large part because of this guy and the group of people that I'd met through him. There were other reasons as well, but that was, I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And my sister-in-law was part of that group, and she introduced me to my current wife and, a bunch of our current investors. It's the relationships I built after meeting John have stuck for ages, including John as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good times. With the brewery came about, I was approached to open a Bottle and Pint on the Boulevard. I thought it was
What's a Bottle and Pint?
Bottle and Pint was the tap room and bottle shop that I opened up, one in Newbury Park and one in Oxnard, my cousin and I. He wanted us to open one of those on the Boulevard. I figured it was too close to Newbury Park to do that. He showed me the spot and said, what do you think about opening a brewery here? That sounds great, but Thousand Oaks will never let us do that because the city's never allowed a brewery in town. Landlord apparently he knew some information that they were going to let that happen. I asked him to give me 2 weeks to strum up some interest. Contacted John immediately, a couple other friends immediately. Everybody was on board right away, and it's kind of crazy. We're talking to Shane. He was talking about how he came here and how we were talking about the place when we were in Nashville 4 years back. And he's like, these guys are just bullshit. Like, there's no way they're going to do this or whatever. And it reminded me, like, anytime I hear somebody else with some big story, I'm like, good luck with that. You're gonna make a podcast, you're gonna make a movie, you're gonna do this or whatever, and you're kind of like, good luck. Last time I did that with him, he ended up a rock star, right?
Right.
Like I remember we had a senior year, we had a talent show or something, and him and my other buddies, like, we're a close group of friends, and they were gonna do a rap, and I was like, it's not my thing, And I'm like, what are you doing a rap? And then next thing you know, here he is, OPM, starting OPM, rock star, legit.
Atlantic Records,
Yeah, exactly.
What you do after
exactly. So
high school
I will not doubt whatever scheme he's got going anymore, for sure. So yeah, anyway, he and I started talking about what would make this place work. He had a background in making ice cream through his family, and we thought that having ice cream and an ice cream component here would kind of set us apart a little bit. allow kids and sports teams to come over here and have their parties over here. And then he kind of took over with the construction, and like that was his wheelhouse, just building the place. And
right.
That took a long time, a year and a half to build it. That was a stressful period, and then we opened up, and it was rad, and then COVID hit. So
right, perfect timing. But the COVID piece, I think, is interesting because you guys had a lot of beer, right? And you guys had to figure out what to do with that, which created some innovation.
Yeah, we were Ollie and I were sitting over there. They shut us down. I remember we were sitting over right in front of the bar, and we were just looking over. And we're like, every single one of those fermenters is filled with beer right now. What the fuck are we gonna do with all this beer? Yeah, and we just like
house parties.
Yeah, exactly.
So we drank them. And
yeah. Yeah. So we brought in Andreas from Boom Hut, good friend of Ollie's. He came in. He's got a mobile can line. We just started canning it up. We had done a couple cans at that point, but yeah, it definitely changed the game for us because then we just went straight into like just that was what was going to save us, you know?
Right. And then during COVID, like I heard, I don't know if this is true, maybe you guys tell me, like liquor stores were really busy.
They were on fire. Exactly.
People
because
couldn't
people
go out.
couldn't go out, so they were drinking. They're just going to the liquor store buying beer.
It wasn't like so. The liquor store is actually like Bottle and Pint, my old place. There was a little bit, there was a little bit of activity, people buying beers to go, but that's not like a super profitable thing for a liquor store. It was more like Albertsons and the grocery stores that were killing it because you were going to one spot,
That's right.
You're not going to go to Albertsons to buy your meats and then go to a liquor store to buy your beer. You're just going to get whatever.
It was an
beer
outing during COVID to go to the grocery store, right?
Yeah. All of it.
Like you got really ready. It was like there's anxiety in there, right?
It was early on. The anxiety was crazy. I don't know if everybody felt it the same way I did, but I was like, we were delivering food to people, and you were like, should I walk on their porch? Should I, like what level of protection do I need here? People try to tip you, and you're like, man, keep your money. It's fine. Like you don't need to hand that over. That was crazy. It was crazy. And if it wasn't for the fact that we were so busy just trying to survive and figure out what to do,
right?
I mean, I probably would have lost it. Like I don't think either of us had enough time to really worry about what this might mean.
Yeah.
And to John's point, we were, we had all this beer in tanks, and thankfully and literally it was like, I don't know what to do with this. We can't put it in kegs. Nobody's buying kegs.
Right.
We can't sell it here. Nobody's buying it here. Are we going to be able to sell it in distribution? And thankfully, within a very short time, we realized that like people wanted the beer, especially locally. So we went from don't touch anything, don't brew anything, nothing's happening. I think there was 2 or 3 weeks of that, to okay, empty that stuff and brew everything, fill it all back up. This is the route that we're going to go. And thankfully it worked out. It's a totally different route than what we planned
you had
from
never
the beginning.
been doing canning as soon as you have.
Not that soon, yeah. Or we would have done bits and pieces like we were trying to do from the beginning, like very minimal distro to a handful of spots, slow,
right.
Like
so from the beginning of that to now, like what's the distribution canning looking like?
Stone Distribution is they take every drop of beer that we have. So we've continued to expand, and we're looking to keep expanding.
They're one of the largest like distributions in, is it Southern California?
Southern California, I think they're the best. Yeah. And
they're one of the largest in the country because Southern California is so dense.
Right.
There's Santa Barbara County, Ventura County, LA County, Orange County, San Diego County, which each of those counties is millions of people.
That's like a hitting a home run, right? Maybe a grand slam.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, you could just be in that and be super successful.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are. And then
all the beer contests out there too, right? Like people are trying to win those to get something like that. Is that true?
No, it's basically like we signed a major deal. Like they're like a major label basically.
That's what you do. You sign labels.
In the craft beer world, obviously like it's different because like they're like, independent labels. It would be like signing to Island Records in the day when like everyone was either with like, there was like, the big Universal, whatever, MCA, all that stuff, whatever. But then there were like independent labels, but it was like a label that was they're an independent label that could compete with the majors. Like
Right.
that's Stone for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So another question I have, like you guys went all in on the beer. Like obviously the beer is doing really well, but then you have this whole food component. You could have been done the food very easily, but the food is like better than most restaurants you go to. There must be a complexity to that. Like,
yeah, one of the things like right from the beginning we talked about was, and I think it's kind of tied into something that we were talking about earlier. Like basically the craft world is like there's so much detail that goes into, like it was when we were talking about the non-competitive environment, the collaborative environment or whatever, like
right.
that exists in the craft world, right? Like the quality of the beer has to be of the highest level in order for us, like when we came in here, we're like, this place is so massive, like we can't be putting out like mediocre beer. It's just not, we're gonna die if that happens. Like it has to be like high level. We have to be able to compete. If this place was a tenth of the size, which a lot of people start there or whatever, like you could probably get away with that. You could get like a kind of like a mediocre brewer and then let him grow.
It's easy to
and
fill
develop.
A small place.
Right, exactly.
But you got to fill a
this
big
place was like, we got to come out banging from day one. And then knowing that was going to happen right away, like we secured Mike Richmond and Dante.
Those are the brewers?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then was like clear, like the food also has to match that. It has to be the same caliber. The ice cream has to be the same caliber. Everything has to be that caliber. Like
we're like the Trader Joe's of breweries.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But that thought that like, when Trader Joe's puts their stamp on a product, you're like, that's good. That's
right.
good. That's going to be a good brownie, or that's going to be a good whatever. Like we wanted that cross whatever products that we're selling, whether it's now or in the future, like, the thoughts of having a distillery or doing other things have come across as well. We've talked about. And as long as everything that we put out is really good, then the next thing might be accepted, right? Otherwise the odds are slim.
Right.
But the ice cream is world class. I think the ice cream is my favorite thing that we make.
Well, it caps every night I'm here, unfortunately. I mean, it's easy for me to want ice cream, and but I'm like, the only thing missing here is jujitsu. I mean,
we can put some
beer,
there's that's kind of here.
There's burritos, there's ice cream. That's the only thing in my regiment that I'm missing, besides my family. No, I think it's really interesting. The ice cream came from your family, right, John?
Yeah. Came from my dad, basically semi-retired and moved to Hawaii and was just looking for something to do and bought an ice cream factory. And that was over 20 years ago.
So let's just back up for a second. Let's put a pause on that.
Mm-hmm.
You and your dad obviously have some similar traits here. You just decide to be a rock star, open up a brewery. Your dad's like, I'm kind of bored. I'm just going to own a ice cream factory.
He was in the school bus business his whole life.
It's making more sense now.
He started he started driving a bus when he was like 16.
All right.
And then ironically, he didn't want me to be a musician. He didn't want me to be in that industry. His grandfather was Bobby Boulder, who was a famous actor. He was in like 20 Charlie Chaplin movies, and he was in movies with Valentino and basically, pre-talkie films, silent films.
So he didn't want you to be an artist.
So then his son, Bobby Boulder's son, was my grandfather. He was also an actor, air quotes, never worked a day in his life.
Okay.
Was trying to be an actor and never made it. What he was really good at was being an alcoholic and drank himself to death. So my dad had to drop out of school at 16 and start driving a bus to take care of the family. And so he thought that artists were a waste of time. But his work ethic was on point, and I learned work ethic from him, but I felt like I was a creative person and I needed to be an artist, but I was going to apply that work ethic to that.
Right.
And then you can succeed in anything if you have good work ethic.
Right. I have a friend that is a really talented artist, but he said you have to like, it's a craft though.
Yeah.
Like you can be artistic, but anything
That's
that you
right.
choose, you have to put work into to actually enhance that craft,
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
So I mean, I'm guessing the same would be for you with music.
Yeah. And by the time I got to music, I realized there was a difference between, fine art and commercial art. I was also a painter, and I tried selling paintings, but I realized nobody was going to buy my paintings because of the content. It was like, we were just talking about this the other day. Like, all my stuff was like really fucked up. No one was going to hang that on their wall. And I tried to be a commercial artist, and I was trying to do all this crazy stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what the client wants.
Hey, Josh, can you pull up some of John's art online?
Yes, you can. But when I got into music, it was like, okay, like what I want to do, like I want to sound like, something super crazy, but like if I'm going to make this my career, it's got to be something
You have to dial it
a
in.
bit more commercial. Like, and it's like, okay, who's, and you start to study the Beatles, and you realize, oh, okay, they wrote the textbook, how to write a pop song 101.
Right.
You can do any genre you want, but you just follow the Beatles format, and then you have a chance, so that was my choice, And then also, like, I would go to a Slayer concert, and I'd see like a bunch of dudes trying to kill each other.
Right.
And then I'd go to like a Sugar Ray concert, all hot chicks. And I was like, if I'm gonna make this my career, do I want to be Slayer or do I want to be Sugar Ray? And I was like, I think I'm gonna go with Sugar Ray.
Right.
So that was also a conscious choice.
Is it the same creative process when you think of the business that you guys? I mean, you guys
Yeah.
are like a band, really. Like,
Absolutely.
there's a
That's
lot
the
of
way
different.
I look at it.
Yeah,
for
there's a
me.
lot of different people here
Yep.
that you're working together to
Yes.
create something greater than.
In my mind, we're running a record label,
Right.
and like these, the brewers are the band, and they're bumping out hits, and we're trying to, and him and I's job is to make those hits get to the people.
Right.
So we got to package them up in some cool artwork that makes people catch their eye. And we got to, be creative on the marketing as far as how do we get it to the people, spending the least amount of money possible in our marketing efforts. And, same kind of thing. And we're an independent label. We're not a major label. So there's not like this
Right.
endless budget. It's DIY. Like we got to figure it out on our own. From going from Atlantic Records to an independent label, and then becoming a DIY band and utilizing social media, utilizing those tools as our marketing tools. I mean, that's the key to being able to market this brand.
Cool. I think we should end it there to
Let's
save
do
your
it. We'll
energy.
move on,
But that
yeah.
was awesome.
John's still got a show to perform.
That's right.
We got to stay
No,
up
that was
for a
good though.
little bit.